if you want to give value to the world, you have to have the skills to give value to the world. In order to acquire those skills, it takes a long time to master anything. You can't, like, just think about it like football, okay? Again, think about it like sports. I want to be in the Premier League. I see them on Instagram. I see them on TV. I want to be, in the Spanish league. I want to play for Real Madrid. Why can't I play for Real Madrid? I'm depressed because I can't play for Real Madrid because I tried for a year. I played every day for a year, and now I'm not playing for Real Madrid. What's the problem? How does that sound?
Very, very, very smart.
So that's how I view it.
Yeah.
When someone's like, "Oh, I'm not," it's like, "No shit, you're not." Are you kidding? Like, you live in La La Land. You're not giving value to the world, so therefore they're not giving you money back. No shit. Like, what? You don't deserve anything. You know what my favorite? There's a American football player, J.J. Watt, this massive defensive end, which are like these crazy athletes, super big, super fast. He says, this is one of my favorite quotes. He says, "Success is not purchased; it's leased, and rent is due every day."
I love it. Yeah,
that's
pretty
so
cool.
profound, right? Like, it's every day. If Elon Musk just dropped out right now, was like, "I'm done," you think that his net worth would go up or down?
Yeah, definitely down. If he just paused, he's like, "I need a break," SpaceX would have not been. His
net worth will probably go down by 40% because half of Tesla's value is speculative relative to people's belief that Elon Musk will crush.
Yeah.
They're not, like, their value of the company is not relative to their income statement. It's relative to
they invest in Elon Musk.
Yeah, they're investing in Elon Musk. So if Elon Musk goes down, Tesla will go down. It'll create a panic sell. His net worth will literally go down by 150 to 200 billion dollars, like that. If he stops. Rent is due every day, even at the highest level. People think that also, by the way, he has like $300 billion in the bank. He does not have $300 billion in the bank. He has shares of a company that has a valuation.
Yeah.
And he can't even legally sell the share. Like, if he wanted to just liquidate $150 billion, he legally cannot do it because it will tank the market. And if it tanks Tesla, then it could create a panic sell for everyone else. The SEC of the United States will literally not allow him to liquidate his funds.
Yeah.
So this idea of like, well, why doesn't he just give like $100 billion to everyone? He can't. It's not even, he doesn't have the money.
You know what he just wrote? He wrote, if
I love this. Oh my God, this is like one of the best things I've ever seen him write ever. I know exactly what you're talking about.
You can say it.
No, say it.
I don't remember. Is it UNICEF? He told
the UN or something. Yeah.
Yeah, the UN. He told the UN, he's like, if you show me exactly how you will solve poverty in the whole world with $6 billion, he will write a check for $6 billion and give it to them.
It's because they called him out first, by the way. They said that if so they were upset that billionaires were not giving enough money to hunger.
Yeah.
Right? And, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is getting all these billionaires to give them all of this money, but they're trying to eradicate most diseases. That's like the main thing that they're doing, or like clean water, but they're not really going after hunger. So the UN said, well, you're not giving enough attention to hunger, right? And they said, and they called them out. They said that Elon Musk, 2% of his net worth could solve world hunger. And then he tweeted back, if you can give me, and he said you have to reply publicly, not privately. You have to reply publicly in this tweet. He said, reply in a thread and explain to me with proof exactly how 2% is $6 billion of my net worth will solve world hunger, and I will give it to you. I love it. It's so good because this is why people don't believe in like governments and nonprofits, because they don't really have skin in the game.
Yeah.
Because they don't have to earn their value. They're like, hey, just give me money, or here's taxes. Whereas in the open market, you better compete, right? So you can't be inefficient as a company because a competitor is going to come kill you and give a better product at cheaper, right? Whereas if I'm the government and I have a monopoly over everything, or I'm the United Nations and I have a monopoly over everything, I don't have to be efficient with my money. And he knows it. So he's like, tell me exactly how you're going to do it. It's so good.
And do you even think they know how they're going to do it?
No.
No clue. Huh?
No idea.
I feel this is like how most entrepreneurs, like young people that want to start, they're like, they're like, oh, I need money to start this business. But they have no clue what they're going to actually do with the money.
So I have another company called Deal Raise. Yeah. So we raise money for entrepreneurs. We raised over $100 million. Yeah. And so the last couple of weeks, I've been talking to a couple entrepreneurs. Before I was training my sales team, I do it myself. That's another thing that you do as an entrepreneur. People are like, oh, I'm too good to do customer support. I did so much customer support. Like, I've done so many annoying sales calls. Like, you got to be able to do everything, Anyways, so I'm doing these sales calls and I'm talking to entrepreneurs, and it's so funny because it's a very expensive product, and they immediately come onto the call and they think they're defensive, right? They're like, this person's going to sell me, right? And they say, they're entrepreneurs or they think they're entrepreneurs, and they say, okay, like, what's this call about? What's this call about? You scheduled a call with me. You said you wanted to raise money, right? And they're like, oh, yeah. I'm like, are you raising money? Or do you want to? And they're like, yeah. And then they say, okay, well, what do you do? And I said, we help people raise money. What's your deal? Like, so I make them pitch me. Yeah. And they're like, some people pull back a little bit, and they're like, well, and I'm like, listen, we help people raise money. We've done it a lot. I'm not going to get into the details if it's not a good deal. We say no to most people. And then they were like, what? We say no to most people. And then I asked them, and there's a lot of entrepreneurs that, are good, but there's also a lot that have this idea. It's like, oh, well, what's your history in this industry? Oh, well, not really, but it's a good idea. I'm like, I don't give a shit about your idea. I give a shit about your skills and your ability to pull it off. And in fact, what's stopping you from doing it already? I had this guy that said, he was like, oh, I want to flip mansions. And I was like, okay, so you want investors to like buy mansions for you and then you flip them? And he goes, yeah. And I go, do you have your real estate license? And he goes, well, no. And I'm like, why don't you start with a real estate license and sell one house ever? Why don't you just do that? Why don't you just sell one house? You get one person to let you sell their house for them. Do that one time and then do it twice. Yeah. And if you can do it twice, do it 3 times. And if you can do it 3, do it 50. If you can do it 50, then you sell a bigger house, right? Then you sell a bigger house. Then you take that money and then maybe you flip a house yourself, flip a small house. And then you take that money, you flip another house. And if you do that 50 times, then maybe you're eventually flipping a mansion. Mm-hmm. You don't need an investor. And an investor is not going to invest in someone that won't even get their real estate license. Mm-hmm. You're delusional. Anyways, I mean, that's a bad example because that's so extreme. But people are kind of that extreme often. They're like, yeah, I have this idea and I'm going to do this thing. And then I'm like, okay, well, why haven't you done the first step in the last 2 years?
Yeah, I know. I've met a lot of people like that. I've met people that are coming with like a really simple idea, and they're like, we need $100,000. I'm like, why? Because we need to build social media. I'm like, you need $100,000 to do social media? I'm like, do you have a phone? They're like, yes. I'm like, do you have the products? They're like, yes. I'm like, do you know your products? They're like, yes. I'm like, can you film with your phone your products, talking about your products? They're like, yes. I'm like, here you go. Give me $100,000.
You know what's in?
You owe me $100,000 now. I've just solved your social media.
You know what's interesting about people with, because I talk to a lot of investors and entrepreneurs that are raising money, is that investors want to know really exactly why $100,000. Yeah. Why 100 and not why 100 and not why 95. Yes. Why 95 and not 107?
An exact plan of execution.
How are you going to use $107,000 and 530? Like exactly why do you need it? What's the plan? Then maybe I'll invest in you. I need $100,000 because it sounds good, and I want $100,000. Oh, really, Mr. Fancy Entrepreneur? That sounds great. People are basically delusional.
Yeah.
They want to skip steps. They don't realize that the world is unfair in a lot of ways. Listen,
For sure.
100%. And I have had crazy advantages by just being, born where I was and speaking English and having 2 arms, and there's infinite advantages, right? I come from a very poor family, but still I have advantages. I'm lucky. We're all lucky, right? If you're listening to this podcast, you're lucky.